and welcome back to my channel. Layla here. And for today's video, I'm going to be doing an Ohuhu versus Copic comparison. And basically, since Ohuhu released their 120 count color set in their brush markers, I decided to go ahead and do another versus with the Copics that I have. And the character I'm doing is this girl. And of course, this character was drawn up in Paint Tool Sci digitally on my computer. And if you're interested, I also have this exact character design for you to print out on my website at halolayla.com. And so I've got my Ohuhus on the right, and I've already color matched all of these with the Copics, and I'm gonna go ahead and begin. So her skin is going to be blue, and this character is pretty reminiscent of one of my earlier comparisons between Ohuhu versus Copic, where I did kind of a WoW looking character, very similar to, well, actually, I think it was an actual WoW character, like somebody had commissioned me at that time. This one is completely just my own character that I put together while looking at a lot of WoW content online, because I really like the designs that they have. And then this side I'm doing with my Copics. And so far, these two blues are really similar in shade. The Copic that I have is B23, which is blue Phthalo. And then on the Ohuhu side, I'm using the color PB1, which is sky blue. And they're really similar. Like, you can barely see the dividing line between the two different colors. So that's pretty cool. I never usually get that lucky. I mean, I get lucky with matching the colors as much as possible, and they like look good. But to be this seamless, yeah, I never get that lucky. So far, my blues were definitely super similar, but I feel like that trend is going to stop pretty soon as I start coloring her hair, because I don't think I was able to find the best of matches when it came to the purples, but they're pretty close. And blending between the two seems pretty standard. I really don't notice much of a difference. Perhaps Copic is slightly easier to blend with, but I also use this paper, which is the Express It blending cards, that really help with keeping the ink wet on the surface of the page so that it helps with making the blending process easier. I don't know if that helps a whole bunch between the two marker brands, but it probably helps a little bit. Definitely one of the biggest differences is going to be the hair. This purple that Copic has is just a lot softer than this strong violet purple that I used on the Ohuhu side. So that's definitely going to make a difference. But yeah, definitely a big difference between the hair colors. And I mean, these three colors were definitely softer, so the blend was a lot better. Whereas when you're dealing with a pretty strong color on this side, on the Ohuhu, it was a little harder to blend because of being a bit too strong. So I should have probably chosen a slightly lighter color. As far as color selection goes, from what I know, Ohuhu has about 200 different colors in their original set. I assume that all those 200 colors will also be coming to their brush marker set. And Copic basically has well over 300 different colors, which is extremely impressive. I think it's specifically 358. And I don't know if Ohuhu plans on coming out with more colors. I don't know if 200 is all there is ever going to be. But as of right now, I know that there's 200 released. And of course, one of the biggest differences that people really consider the most is the price. So like, the 120 set of Ohuhus cost $99.99 on Amazon. And then these Copics are the Copic Ciao from the 36E set. And that 36 count set cost $94. And yes, that is cheaper than $99.99 for the Ohuhus, but I only got 36 colors of Copics for $94, whereas I do get 120 Ohuhus for $99.99. And to break that down further, that's basically about $2.60 per marker for Copic and 83 cents per marker for Ohuhu. And that's not to say you don't get what you pay for. There are some drawbacks. One drawback being that Ohuhus are a single-use marker up to a certain point. I say a certain point because you can do a few things that sort of give them a bit of longevity, I guess you could say. So for the most part, they don't have refill ink, whereas Copic does have refill ink, but it is possible to refill your Ohuhu ink with the Shinhan Twin Touch brand, because Ohuhu and Shinhan run on the same color system. And then the next big difference would be the nib replacement. And basically Copic has nib replacements that you can buy so that you really shouldn't have much of a reason to repurchase the same color again. I mean, unless the barrel gets damaged. But Ohuhu did take into account the fact that the nib on their markers would have some wear and tear. And basically what they did was on their markers, the nib comes out, and I recommend using tweezers when you pull the nib out. So you would take the tweezers, pull the damaged nib out, and once you have it out, you can flip it around and reinsert it, and you have an all new sharp brush nib with the same marker. So despite not having nib replacements that you can purchase on their website or on Amazon, at least there's that kind of like a buffer before you actually have to buy an all new marker. Plus, I do feel that it's only a matter of time until Ohuhu does provide their own refill ink and their own nib replacements. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but it feels like that's the direction that they're going to go in. And I feel pretty confident giving that sort of a guess, only because Ohuhu has come out with a lot of different art products lately, with their alcohol marker compatible sketchbook and then their gel pens that they came out with. And I think they just released like watercolor pens and stuff like that. So they're definitely expanding. So I mean, it just feels like the next step with their markers is just to release refills and nibs. Definitely a big color difference with her skirt, but that was expected since there's such a big color difference with her hair, which is also purple. Just gotta finish up her, what are these, gauntlets, I guess? Bracers? They're either gauntlets or bracers. I'm terrible when it comes to this armor stuff. I like drawing it though. So far, though, I am very surprised at how well I was able to match the colors, which is kind of what I wanted to sort of do with the 120 count of Ohuhus, because I just had a feeling that with this new release, I'd be able to color match a lot better. And I mean, purples aside, it's pretty spot on, these colors. And then lastly, I have my background to do. So I figured I'd do it in green. And I'm going to use that same sort of streaky gradient technique that I did for my last video, because if you watch my videos consistently, you'll know that filling in backgrounds seems to be the most tedious and difficult thing, I feel, when it comes to using alcohol markers. And I'm not sure why it's such a struggle sometimes, but it is. And I've heard like all sorts of suggestions, from you've got to move in circles to you just got to color in straight lines and work quickly or else they'll get super streaky. And long story short, I've tried a lot of techniques and I really like this one, so I'm sticking with it. And then just using that same technique on the Copic side. And then that's pretty much it. But gotta add my shinies, which I usually just put in her eyes, on the lower lip, on the nose, Sometimes I add little shinies to her shoulders and stuff. Anywhere that I feel like things need to look glossy. And that's all the shinies I'll add. I don't want to get too crazy because I can definitely go crazy when it comes to shinies. All right, and that's pretty much it. I love how seamless this piece is. I really wish I had gone with a slightly different color for the darkest of purples that I used on the Ohuhu side, but overall, I'm really satisfied with it. And as always, I never really give my own opinion as for which side I like better. I like to leave that up to the viewer. So go ahead into the comments and tell me which side you like best. And maybe like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys. Bye!